See that okay?
Yes.
Thanks.
Hi, Brad. Are you from Gilbert's?
Hey David, Brad Manzel from Gilbert's. How are you?
Great. Thank you. We'll be with you shortly.
No worries. I'll just wait on hold. Colton should be joining us momentarily.
Great. I'll just get us started this evening and then, we'll pull you into the discussion and we'll just get to learn a little bit more about your company and what you have to offer us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, David.
Hi, Megan. Good evening and welcome to the Allegheny Clarion Valley School Board Workshop Meeting for May 5th, 2025. The AC Valley workshops are conducted virtually, and the link to access the workshop is always posted to the acvsd.org website. During the workshop, I will provide the school board members with information that will help to clarify agenda items. And please remember the workshops are open for discussion, so jump in at any time. And at this time, can I please have Madam Secretary conduct the roll call?
Clifford Adams,
Here.
Patty Anderson, Carrie Armagost,
Here.
John Burke, Brady Fight,
Here.
Diane Page,
Here.
Jeff Powell, Eric Sundling,
Here.
and Kelly Twilliger.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we do not have anybody signed up for the workshop or the voting meeting from the public. We do, as you can see, have three presentations, and this is in regards to an insurance broker for the school district. Mrs. Morrison and myself, we've reached out to 5 different brokers, and we were able to contact 3, and we have Gilbert's with us this evening, and we have Bob Best from Bills going to meet with us face-to-face next Monday, and then also Doug McCausland from Gallagher Insurance will present as well. And we have a discussion later on in the school board agenda for that. So this time I will open up the mic to Brad from Gilbert's. I believe he's still with us.
Yes, sir, David. Thank you very much. Colton Hoffman should be joining us as well. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to the school board. Colton is the head baseball coach for West Middlesex, and compliments of AC Valley. You guys gave them a good beating last week. So Colton remembers that all too well. He actually had a game today against Rocky Grove. So
Brad, I'm on. Can you hear me?
we can hear you, Colton. Thanks
All
for
right,
joining.
perfect.
We're glad you're here. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to the school board. Know Clarion very well. I personally have a camp over in the Clarion River, so eat in Foxburg and go right by the school quite a bit. Know several of the teachers that teach there, so it's a beautiful area. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the insurance. I'm going to try to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that. We put together just a little presentation for the board. Let's see. Can you see that? It says Allegheny Clarion Valley School District.
Yes, Brad, we can see it.
Okay, very good. Colt, I'm going to let you take it over from here, and I'll manipulate the slides. I guess just to introduce myself, I'm Brad Manzel. I'm one of the owners here at Gilbert's. We are a locally owned insurance agency in Mercer County. We're located in downtown Sharon. We've been here almost 175 years, but your two other presenters I saw, Acrisure and Gallagher, are both large publicly traded brokerages, so a little different experience than dealing with more of a hometown folks. But I'm going to turn it over to Colton, and he can tell you a little bit more about us.
Great. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Brad. Yeah, Brad stole a little of the thunder on this page, but a little bit about Gilbert's. We've been in Sharon for over 170 years, locally owned and operated the entire time, actually founded in 1854. And in about the year 2000, we expanded into more of a risk management approach. So we still do the insurance. We write all your insurance policies, but we really pride ourselves on being a risk management firm as much as an insurance agency. One of the largest and fastest growing commercial agencies in Western Pennsylvania. We serve clients in about 25 states. We're licensed in about 48 states. We have most of our clients headquartered anywhere from Cleveland to Youngstown to Morgantown to State College, kind of draw a big circle like that. That's where the majority of them are headquartered. But we have clients with operations all over the country. And in 2024, named one of the best places to work in Western Pennsylvania, and over 100 5-star Google reviews. So we pride ourselves on maintaining a good reputation and taking care of our clients. A little bit about Brad and myself. Brad joined Gilbert's in 2009. He's got a bevy of insurance experience prior to coming on to Gilbert's, and I joined Gilbert's right out of college in 2011. So I've been with the agency 14 years this month, actually. School district insurance. We've served school districts for a long time. Public, private, charter schools. Sharon is right on the Ohio border, so we've worked in both Pennsylvania and Ohio for over 30 years. And just a listing of some of the coverages that we help schools tailor to their needs. Property, liability, school leaders, E&O. I don't have to read them all to you. Cyber liability. We're used to putting the whole program together for schools as their needs come up. Service beyond insurance, that's really our motto. That's what we pride ourselves on. Our logo says service beyond insurance since 1854. And we really believe we're more than just your insurance agent. We're committed to a long, strong and healthy partnership, not just policy placement. You're going to hear from us regularly. We're not going to sell you a policy and then talk to you in 9 or 10 months when it's time to renew the policy. We believe in a partnership, and we approach our relationships that way. Just a couple of things that we think separate us. We have a tool called an IQRM assessment. It's about 30 different topics where you can take a self-assessment. After you take the self-assessment, it kicks out some risk management recommendations. And it gives you real actionable items that you can take to improve yourself, whether it's fleet safety or workplace safety. And we actually just came out with one this week regarding an active shooter program. So just a couple of things that we love to partner with our clients on, take these assessments, help them implement things to get better. And the great thing is it gives you a score at the end. If you're not doing something well, you might get a 65 out of 100, with which in the education industry sector, you guys understand what that's all about. And our goal is to do a couple of these action
I'm on the
items.
school board. I'm listening into one of our meetings right now. So,
John, sorry about that, but your mic got kicked off. Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, and so the goal would be to exercise a couple of these initiatives, and next time you take it, maybe get a 74 or a 77, and keep continually progressing and getting better. So we think that's a really cool tool that we bring to the table. And another thing is we're a member of the Beyond Insurance Global Network. It is a nationwide partnership of agencies who do business like we do. And so twice a year we're getting together, we're trading ideas, we're talking about trends and how can we stay ahead of things to help our clients. And it gives us access to exclusive tools, training, and benchmarking to better serve our clients. That's really the presentation. Happy to take any questions. But before we get into it, I just wanted to give a quick debrief that Dr. McDavid and Aaron and I talked about last week, and that's just the way the commercial insurance marketplace works. The commercial insurance marketplace is a first come, first served basis. And as you can imagine, there's not a lot of insurance companies that love to write public schools out there. So when an agent submits business to a market, they have what we call the market reserved, meaning two insurance agents can't get a quote from the same company. And so what that means is if your current agent or another agent is already out in the marketplace working on quotes, there's not a lot of opportunity for other agents to get involved. So one thing that is really a possibility is what you call a broker of record. And that would be basically saying you would assign a market to a specific agent. We really don't see too many public schools with Selective. I know you guys are interested in moving away from Selective. We really see almost every single public school with one of three other companies. That would be Utica National, that would be CM Regent. They're the old PSBA insurance program, and that would be Liberty Mutual. Those are the top three markets in the state of Pennsylvania. So it's just not a big field to choose from. If you were a bakery trying to insure a bakery, there'd be 20 or 30 companies out there willing to give you a quote. So I'm just trying to say that opportunities really are limited for insurance agents when it comes to market placement for public schools.
Thank you,
I
Cole.
guess the only thing I would add to that, Colt, is you have to choose as a board who you feel could do the best to represent AC Valley School District, to the insurance industry, because you won't be able to get multiple quotes from the same companies. So you could decide to allow one broker to handle basically those three markets for you and try to get you quotes from all three. Or you could do a market assignment where you say, hey, we want to work with one broker, two brokers, and this broker gets this company, this broker gets that company, and allow them to work, with those. But as Colton mentioned, those are the three players that write probably 99.5% of the school districts in the state. It would be Utica, Liberty Mutual, and now Church Mutual, which was the old PSBA program.
And can you talk a little bit about the time frame? It seems like we're up against it with June 30th being the deadline to get quotes and move forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, almost every single public school renews on July 1st, like you guys do. So it is a very busy time for all of these, and all of these companies have dedicated underwriters. That's all they work on is schools. So this is their busy time of year, like an accountant would have a busy season between January and April. This will be the busy time of year for these school underwriters. And yeah, to get quotes for, I'm assuming approval at a June board meeting, you would really need to make a decision here, what strategy you wanted to go with, today and next week at your actual board meeting. And really, brokers would have to really get moving on it, especially if you're bringing someone new to the fold into the picture.
Thank you. Kelly has her hand up.
Yeah, I had a question. So if you can only get quotes from certain places, how do you determine, in other words, does it matter who gets that quote, or is it depend on the company because you have a larger field of clients? Do you get a better quote from that company, or how does that work that it might be different?
Yeah, great question. The insurance companies would probably minimize the effect of which agent sends in the submission. But it's our job to paint our clients in the best light to the insurance marketplace. So we're going to want to get a lot of information, ask you a lot of questions, and then position it to the schools in the right way so that we can get the best terms and conditions.
So your goal is to get us the best price.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it, but we also want to get you the best coverage. So maybe one carrier offers a different coverage or a lower deductible or higher limits or whatever it might be. So we want you to get the best program for the best price. Might not necessarily be the lowest price, but we want to bring options to the table and work with you like a partner to put the best program together for you.
Kelly, a good example of that is we worked with several of the local school districts over this way, and for the longest time, Liberty Mutual was the only player in the market that offered replacement cost on school buses if the bus was less than 10 years old. And that's a big deal. You get a 9-year-old bus, and you get a depreciated value on a totaled out bus. Not a whole lot of money, but if you have an endorsement on your policy where they're willing to go out and buy you a brand new bus in exchange for a 9-year-old bus that was damaged, that's a big deal. And so as we comparative shopped a couple of years for some of the districts, some of the other markets offered a little lower price, but they couldn't offer that guaranteed replacement cost on buses 10 years old or less. And so, they chose, we brought the information to them, but the boards chose, hey, that's worth a lot of money to us because they'd actually been paid out several times on that. So we're going to always point out to you the differences in the programs, but we're always going to try to bring you the best cost, but we also want to point out some of the coverage differences so the board can make a good decision.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Well, if there's no more questions, thank you for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys. If anything comes up later tonight or tomorrow, feel free to reach out, give us a call. Happy to jump on additional calls, whatever we need to do.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Colton. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. McDevitt. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Have a good
everyone.
night. Moving down through the agenda, as I stated earlier, we will have Bob Best, a current broker, and Doug from Gallagher on campus next Monday to present as well. And at this time, before I move into the consent agenda, I'll open up the floor to see if there's any school board concerns at this time. Moving down through the consent agenda, we don't have any conferences, field trips, or substitutes to approve, but we do have a volunteer for the PTO. And, the ladies are very active and they're always looking for volunteers. So if you know anybody out there, please send them our way. And then we also have the Pre-K Counts program putting in for their pre-K graduation. This is a yearly event. Tracy's doing a real good job for us over there, and we appreciate the support that they provide us as well. Under finance and purchase, letter A through G, we'll pay the bills and hear from Stacy next Monday. And letter H has been a new discussion here on campus since Bruce McCleary had sold his company. We had worked with McCleary's business for way over 20 years, as long as I've been here. And Bruce and his staff have been top notch. And as soon as the business changed hands, we started to experience some difficulties with support, different concerns with getting in toner and such. So the technology department, including Mr. RJ Fight, had done some work, and they found Hagen Business Machines Meadville. And RJ is going to present at the voting meeting, and he's going to go into great detail. So I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, but this is a leasing program where we could replace all our equipment, get on a lease, and save at least $10,000 per year at the district for cost. And that's not even associated with maybe some of the waste and mismanagement, such as too many people printing to one machine and then items getting lost, and just a little bit more tracking. Not that we're going to cut any of our teachers from printing, but we're going to be able to manage it a little bit better. So the information that Aaron, Jeff, and RJ presented to me seemed like a no-brainer to move forward with Hagen Business out of Meadville. So I'm just going to keep on moving down through the agenda, and RJ and Aaron's on. I mean, they're the experts for that. Letter I, that's a motion to discuss and possibly approve a broker on Monday. And again, we are under a time frame. If we're going to look at something different, we're going to have to move quickly on that. Letter J is our annual all access package from PSBA Board Docs, and that's at $10,500. They provide the school board with training, they provide lots of communication, and most importantly, they help to provide us with updates on our policies, and work very closely with them on that. And then letter K, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Morrison, and she's going to present here shortly. But before I do so, just talking about this budget, it's been growing from year to year, and for a variety of reasons. But the one item that's really impacting our budget, and I'm going out to Harrisburg tomorrow morning, and I'll be working with legislators out there, both locally and in the state ed committee, is cyber school cost. Just keep in mind that we're going to be talking about increasing taxes again. And we've been increasing taxes for as long as I've been superintendent. And the reason why is because cyber school cost. And just keep in mind that in 2022-23 school year, AC Valley paid $879,319 in cyber school cost, and that's up 401% since 2015-16. So our bills are anywhere from $700,000 to $900,000 a year. And just think, if we didn't have that expenditure, we'd probably be able to tackle several of these projects and not have to take out a bond. And it's a failing system. Keep in mind that in February 25, Pennsylvania Auditor General Tim DeFore's office audited the 5 biggest PA cyber schools, and they showed that their revenues increased $425 million from 2019-20 to 22-23. That's 90%. Their fund balance went up 144%, $619 million it had increased. They spent $191 million in 21 buildings. And here we are down at little old AC Valley, and we're talking about a $4 million project, and spent several years just saving up and being fiscally responsible. And the issue behind it is a outdated charter school formula. And just keep in mind that cyber schools are not even charter schools, but they fall under the umbrella of them. And they charge a gen ed student anywhere from $7,000, $25,000, and then a student with special needs anywhere from $18,000 to $60,000. So again, we have the governor's proposal, and we're hoping to get some cyber school reform. And if they knock that down to $8,000, and just keep in mind that we run our own cyber program and do it equally as good, if not better, because we have a number of different options and live teachers, that it cost us just about $5,000. And if we had some savings on cyber school, even at that reduced rate, AC Valley would save just shy of $330,000. And keep in mind that this year's budget proposal that we have in front of you is operating under several factors that we're not 100% sure of. First off, the federal money, we're not sure if there's going to be cuts or what they look like. The state budget, they're still in deep negotiations, and they're going to be pulling money out of the rainy day fund, and not everybody in Harrisburg's happy about that. And we're not sure about local taxes. And, Aaron has 3 different budgets for you this evening. No raises, raise about halfway, 2.5% to the index, and then raising the full index, which is 5.4%. Some of our expenditures are unknown. We're in contract negotiations with professional staff and support staff, and a handful of other contracts that we have. And with all that being said, I commend Erin for the work that she put into the budget. And just keep in mind that there are some moving parts between the budget we present to you this evening and potentially the budget that's approved, not only at the federal level, but also at the state level. So at this time, we're going to be presenting a $19,699,198 expenditure budget. So, Erin, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, good evening. Erin, I think you have my slides to show. Yep, perfect. Okay, so I hope you all got these on Friday. I sent out an email and I wasn't sure that it went through, but anyway, this is the revenue page. I learned when I was at PASBO that you should know how much you're receiving from local, state, and federal revenue, what the sources are, and what part of your budget actually comes down to that. So on this slide, you'll see it does separate it out between how much we can gain through local, how much state, and how much the federal we hope to receive. Let me see if can I move this down, or do you need to move it, Erin? Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is kind of the overview of individual wise. The top part is the local revenue. And as you see, that's the state tax, or I'm sorry, the real estate tax, the earned income tax, and all other revenues. Included in the revenues on the very last line is the billing for West 2. That does fall under local revenues. Then you go down to the state revenue, and that's our basic ed funding, the special ed funding, transportation, et cetera. And then all other revenues, which would be the West 2 grant, falls under the last line of that piece. And federal revenues are the titles, the federal funding. As you can see, there was an increase projected for next year. Title 1D, which we just were approved for this year, was based on half of a year. Hopefully projected for next year, we'll get the full year, which will increase the revenue by roughly, I think Kristen and I figured out 190, 200,000. So that will help a great deal for as far as revenue coming in. So that's kind of the revenue in a nutshell. It comes down to be 19,643,548,000. That's a mouthful. So it is a slight increase of 2% over last year, projected. Now, again, some of those are variables as far as the West 2 enrollment. That kind of will fluctuate throughout. And then based on, again, like David said, federal monies in the state. And so that's kind of the revenue piece of it. And then Erin, can you go to expenses? Yes. Okay, so the majority of the budget for expenses is salary and benefits. And then as you can see at the top, they're broke out into that, purchase services, supplies and equipment. The slide just kind of breaks down. And then if you could go down a little further. Yep. Perfect. We do know that salary and benefits, since we're in a negotiation year and contracts are not settled yet, that's kind of a rough estimate of where we would be based on however the chips fall with those. Purchase services is, my notes here. You'll see some of the line items go up and some of the line items go down. One of those that went down was the director of special ed. So we were using the IUs, contracted with them. So it did increase our salary and benefits, but it did go down under purchase services. And then supplies and equipment are pretty much supplies and equipment. So in a nutshell, the expenses are 19,731,427. So there is, based on the millage of how you want to, however the millage plays out and the increase in taxes will be based off of how much of the fund balance we'll use. And I think there's one last slide. Oh, it might be the first one. There we go. So at the very top, I put what last year's index was set at and how much revenue we got from real estate taxes at the 3.5 million. If you look for 25-26, the millage increase is set at 0%, 2.5%, and 5.4%. The next column is the millage revenue of how much each set at that would bring in, and then the increase based off of last year's revenue. Next one is the total based off of all the millage, everything together. Projected expenses is the same. We're projecting we'll spend the same. It's just based off, the only thing that would change would be the revenue. And then that's how much of fund balance you would use at the end of the year based off what you set your millage increase at. And the last note is the max that the district can raise the taxes this year is the 5.4%. I know that's a lot to throw at you. Kind of try to wrap it up in a nutshell to give you a kind of overview. But if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Or Kelly, is your hand? I think that's your hand.
It is. And I just want to clarify for my own understanding from the meetings we went to, because I know this is going to be an issue that people think about, the fact that the tax base is being, the millage or the tax revenue in the county is being reassessed. But my understanding is that that doesn't change the amount of money we get. It's just about who it comes from. Am I correct in that?
Yes, correct. The reassessment just balances out so that people that are paying less on their property are now more fair as far as, and people who are paying more, it just kind of evens the playing field. But no, there would be no more revenue increase.
Thank you.
And that came from
that reassessment's only Clarion County, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And speaking with Tim Schramm from PASBO, he said he's done this all over the state, and theoretically a third goes up, a third remains the same, and a third goes down. So it should be neutral for the school district. You know, this is a little bit different, but tied too.
And the other thing I'd like to just, I don't know, point out, I guess, is regardless, it's still deficit spending no matter what level.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Erin? I thought she did a real good job explaining the revenues, expenditures, and then breaking down the various millage rates that we asked her to figure out for us.
yes, Erin, I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Erin.
David.
You could, sure. Thanks. You could take us right back. Okay, and we'll leave some of those open blanks for Monday. We just wanted to give you a week to think about it, and depending on budget A, B, or C, will obviously impact the millage rate. So letter K, L, and M are theoretically all tied together, and we'll continue to work on that. And you can see the other per capita $5 that hasn't changed for a very long time, and then the other earned income, real estate, and discounts. Are there any questions about the items under finance and purchase before we get into personnel? Okay, Aaron, moving down into personnel, letter A, we do have 4 people who applied for a special education opening at the West 2 program. Dr. Jeffels working on setting up interviews right now. We're hoping to have a name for you on Monday to get somebody hired to help us finish off the school year. And unfortunately, at this time, we do not have any math applicants who applied, nobody certified, and nobody from the sub-service. So we're covering that class internally up there. B and C, we recently was notified by Jessica Lukes, and if you remember, we put her on to try to build the program for cross country, and due to all the various costs associated with clearances, coaching requirements, she resigned before we got the season started. So we'll accept her resignation and then also post to fill that position. Then letter D is just a follow up to motion that we had to hire on summer help. These are all some of our top-notch students here at the district: Ava Snyder, Malia Page, Caitlin Wolf, Coben Elliott, and Maddie Dehart. They'll be coming on and helping out the custodian group during the summertime. Okay, moving down into instructional services. Letter A, arbiter. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Sherman and Dr. Jordan. They're going to talk a little bit about what this program does, how it could benefit us, and just touch on the cost associated with it.
Well, Dr. Jordan, you want me to jump in here?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Recently, I've been having some meetings with a company called Arbiter. And it's basically a scheduling program that has taken the place for me of Schedule Star. A lot of District 9 athletic directors have set up. We had a virtual meeting with the representative, and many of the District 9 athletic directors are going to this program for scheduling. You can do transportation on it, a number of really good options. It's a great program. And I've been working on it in the last month or so, and I'm pretty pleased with it. But along with the scheduling program, they offer several other programs. The quote that they came back with for the one program was a little higher than I anticipated. But the first one that I'll talk about is called Arbiter Pay. Unions using it right now, and it eliminates a lot of the paper trail and keeping documents. For example, probably about a week ago, I had finally gotten a chance to do the junior high pay sheets that we have to submit. I submit them to Aaron. I keep track of all the workers, which Arbiter will let me do as well. But I have to keep track of all the workers, the pay rates, and at the end of the season, I put those, copy and paste them out of the document that I keep in one of my many folders in Google, and paste those into the pay sheets, and then get those out to the people that work those events so that Aaron can get them checks made and sent out to them. It takes me, for 4 people for junior high volleyball, took me over a half an hour, roughly 35, 40 minutes to get those pay sheets put together. So it's a very tedious process, and it's not very streamlined at all. With Arbiter, I can put those into my schedule. I can put those workers into that. And if you use Arbiter Pay, it's a direct deposit system where we give Arbiter X amount of dollars to keep an account. And we basically just click on the worker after I've assigned it and after the game's been completed. And that's for officials also. I can just click on those workers, and Erin will see that they light up green, and then she will know that they worked the event, and she can go ahead and deposit the money into their account directly through Arbiter. And it eliminates all the W-9s that they have to do, and a lot of that paperwork as well. And one of the big things that we struggle with in the spring is checks for baseball and softball games, because a lot of times they'll play extra innings, and it's difficult to cut checks ahead of time and get those to the officials the night of a game. If they play 3 extra JV innings, we pay them $10 an inning, and so if they do that, their check's not going to be right, so we have to mail it out. Again, which is another process that it takes time, and it's sort of not super labor intensive, but it's just not very efficient. And through Arbiter, we can just put that money right into their account. So it's very efficient as far as using Arbiter Pay. Unions using it, like I think I mentioned, and they're pretty happy with it. The quote that we got on that was for a year, it's almost $900, and there's an initial startup fee. But I think after that, it just goes down to a flat rate every year. The other option, the other program that we looked at and sat through was called Arbiter Registration. Kind of a tongue twister, but that allows us to document all of the coaches' paperwork that they have to submit yearly. They upload it right to Arbiter. We can check and see that they have that in. That was something we had to do this year, was have them email it to us and print a copy of it and keep it in a file. And I think I might have given that to Dr. Jordan. He kept that in his office, and we would just keep adding to it as we got them. Again, it wasn't very efficient, but it's right around $900 with an initial startup fee of almost $200. But again, I think it goes down to a regular rate, and I could check with Union's business manager who is currently using it, and they're very pleased with it. So, and then the registration one, as far as that goes, we can track all of our physical packets on that as well, and that's been an issue with trying to keep physical packets straight and make sure kids have all their required paperwork submitted and everybody's up to speed with that before a season starts. And that is all, and it goes into sort of a database that we can access, and the parents do it all online. It's all electronic and eliminates all that paperwork and folders and files all over the place. It's a little more pricey than I had anticipated. It's $3,000, but we budgeted, I think, for Arbiter Pay and for the Arbiter schedule that I'm using currently. Like I said, I replaced Schedule Star with that, but I think it's a valuable program. Erin sat through the training. I don't know if she wants to add anything to it that I might have missed, but at least the initial meeting that we hadn't had any training on Arbiter Pay. But I think both of those programs can be something that we can utilize very efficiently in the district. The paper tracker, I'd really like to see it. But again, we didn't budget for it for next year. We hadn't anticipated the price being as much as it was, but something that we might want to look into in the future. And if anybody has anything else they'd like to add or any questions that you have, I'd feel free.
I have a question on the uploading the clearances. Does it have something that will trigger somebody that's going to expire so that they're not expired by the time you need them?
I think as far as the clearances, I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't been trained on the registration. None of us have been trained on it. I am utilizing the program that I have that I've paid for. And when I have a question, I just email them. I haven't sat through a formal training, but I'm hoping to set up maybe this summer. But the Arbiter Pay and the Arbiter Registration, it's just been an initial meeting with them to kind of find out about the program, what it offers, and what it's able to do.
I think that that question probably has some merit to ask, simply because it's easier when you get a tag to know that somebody's going to expire versus looking them up and pulling a spreadsheet and trying to manage a spreadsheet every time.
Right. It has, and like you can load all of your coaches, and it keeps track of all of your the physical packets yearly. Like the parents will upload all their information. They do it. I think they fill out the forms right online. We can load our SIPI forms in and everything into there, so it's on the system. The parents get in there and fill it out. As far as the coaching requirements every year, I'm not 100% sure about the clearances. Like I know we've been notified about any clearances that we have that are coming up this year's Act 34, the child abuse clearances and all those different things.
So somebody does get a notice on them. That's good.
I would imagine. Like I'm not sure I'm sure that's part of the tracking as well. But we can track also like the concussion protocol, the sudden cardiac arrest one. Those are yearly, and the coaches will upload those, and there'll be a database that we can just check and click on a coach and see if they have everything uploaded and ready to go, as opposed to collecting it. Hey, email me your certificate and printing it out, putting it in a folder and keeping it somewhere. We can just go right to the program and check on those things.
That's good.
And we can also, the thing that they said, the emergency cards, like the little blue ones that we send home at the beginning of the year, every year, we can track all of that stuff too. And it's based, I think the rate is based on the number of people that you enroll with it. And the number that we were talking about during our meeting was not the one that I got on the invoice. So I want to do a little more research on this as far as the registration one goes. But I am very interested in and I think Aaron and Sarah were too, the arbiter pay. I think that would streamline a lot of things as far as paying officials and workers for our events.
So as the parents would upload pieces in there.
Yeah, it'll be the way I understood it, it would be all on their program, this arbiter program, and they could get into the program, fill it out, and then submit it, and we would have all of their emergency contact information, just the same as a physical packet that they would need for sports.
So will it let them submit it without it being complete?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to pay for something that won't let the process be hung up unless somebody's completing it. Nobody wants to chase paperwork. Exactly.
Well, and in this case, it's digital paperwork, but it's still paperwork. You're right. And that would be another thing that we would look into. Like, can they, submit something that's not complete? So that would be another question.
Dave, it's Carrie. I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
The first one is, I assume we have a cost with the program that you're currently using. Do you know what that cost is?
Yes. It was $700 with almost roughly $200 startup fee, but it'll go back to the $700 next year. And currently Schedule Star, and the reason District 9 ADs wanted to set this meeting up with Arbiter is because Schedule Star, their representative we can't get a fixed rate from them. It seems like it goes up every year, and they're very kind of difficult to work with as far as getting us a deal for our district or for our league even. I know I asked Courtney today to see what it was that I pay for Schedule Star, and it was $775, but that rate is going up every year. They just keep increasing it. And so a lot of the athletic directors, I passed some of this information on. I set up an initial meeting and I passed it on to Pete Greco at Brockway, who's very active in District 9. And he's the one that sort of spearheaded this because he's not pleased with Schedule Star either. But eventually we'll save money off of it after the initial startup fee and everything.
Are there other than the price, are there distinct differences between what the two systems, what the capabilities are and the features that they offer and things like that, that they're leaning towards Arbiter? Or is it essentially the same thing? It's just the
It's very
pricing that's
similar,
the
but I
issue.
think it's more user friendly. And there's some initial startup work that you have to upload your components and everything, but I have my schedules pretty much in there, and it's very efficient as far as loading schedules. And I like the fact that we can put our transportation right on there. I can put contractors in and departure times and all of that, and it'll be in that program. And I still have some things to learn on it, but Schedule Star it did a lot of similar things, but this I think is more versatile, especially if you incorporate the Arbiter Pay into the system, because you couldn't do that with Schedule Star. Again, you have to pay extra for the Arbiter Pay, but it streamlines that process too.
Okay. And then the last question I have, Dave, is when you're talking about the package that you didn't budget for, but where the students or the parents can do the paperwork and everything online.
Yeah, register.
And I'm not saying that this would happen, but if you would happen to have a student or two that does not have, the parent doesn't have access to be able to do that online, is there going to be a paper option? Would there, can you
I
complete
would
things by
honestly,
paper?
I think at the beginning of the school year, it would be a good idea to offer to have people come into the school even and open up the lab like we do impact tests, allow people to come in and access the system and take care of all their information.
Okay, thanks.
I think that would be a good option, honestly. Because that is something that we did discuss, because like not everybody might have internet access. So what do we do in that kind of situation? And I think the vast majority of people would utilize this because it's probably a lot easier than sitting down and filling all this out by hand. But we could still offer that option.
So just to clarify something in my mind and kind of get to a different question, the current system only has the scheduling pieces in it. It doesn't have like child data or.
No, it has nothing like that.
So you're probably paying for a secure server with the other one. Is that correct?
As far
if you're putting identifiable pieces into a system, you want to make sure that it's pretty secure on their server.
Yes, like the system. Yeah. And in fact, the Arbiter Pay, you give them money to put into an account, and they put that, they're the ones that pay your employees out of that account. So they take care of all the tax information as well.
What I mean is the security of being hacked.
Yes, I'm sure they have a variety of secure, firewalls and different things that, it's like anything else.
They're not all created equal, though.
I don't know. That's a tech question that's beyond me.
It would be worth asking simply because it would put a lot of people's data in danger if they're not trying to hit there's a coding for cybersecurity that if they tell you have it, you don't typically necessarily have to worry too much. But, I would want to make sure that they have it if you're going to invest.
No, that's a good question. I hadn't even, I don't think of those things necessarily because I'm not a tech person, but that's a legit question. So, and a concern.
Dave, is all the local schools or everybody in District 9, are they switching over to this program from the current one you're using?
Many of them are. A number of them have been doing it a while, and they're familiar with Schedule Star, and they're just comfortable with it. And they're not really looking at branching out into the Arbiter Pay. I just know from dealing with Union, which I do a lot, they're very happy with it, and they think that it's something that they want to continue doing, obviously. And I think Aaron had talked to their business director over there, and she talked very highly about the program and how useful it was for them. That's why I kind of looked at it or put it out there to Aaron to see if that was something that they wanted to pursue or look into. So that's why we set up the meeting.
I did this is Erin. I did talk to unions or emailed with their business manager, or I think, I don't know if she's business manager or assistant, but she did seem very happy with the program. She said all she has to do is put money in an account, general account, and then as the referees or officials work, it once it's approved, it draws from that account and goes directly to the ref official themselves. And then I just would continue to monitor how much is in our general account to make sure that there's enough to continue to pay them per game or track meter, whatever we're paying them for. Dave, I don't know if I can ask a question, but does this take care of the workers, the student workers as well?
I think we can do that.
Okay.
That is a good question. Because we do have a lot of high school kids that keep book for like volleyball, basketball, they keep the book. So that would be something. And I want to bring that up with them and see how we would, and we haven't purchased Arbiter Pay yet. So that's something that we would definitely want to talk to them about beforehand, whether they would have to deposit that into the parent's account and then they would distribute it to the kid. I'm not sure.
Can you tell me this $5,980, is that for all the programs you want to get? Is that just for one of them? What does
That
that
would
cost?
probably, my understanding of this invoice, it would be for the whole package, the registration, because it's the most expensive. The first item on that handout is the Arbiter Pay, and then the schedule would be the fourth item down. That's the $700.
So this fee is more this year because of the initial startup costs, but
Correct.
it will be
And
lower than next year.
I would hope so, yeah. And then I was not, I wasn't aware the cost of the registration subscription. That was just something that I set up the meeting after talking to the guy about Arbiter Pay, and we had the meeting with the school nurses, and they were kind of impressed by it and interested in it. And then when he sent the price quote for it, we were kind of taken aback at the cost. Like we hadn't anticipated it being that much.
How
Dave,
many
can you find,
students? Oops, go ahead, Brady.
Dave, can you find out for next meeting what the yearly fee would be then if we were to purchase everything, and then a breakdown of what it would be for just the scheduling and just the Arbiter Pay?
Yeah, I can get the cost for those two items, and then maybe get the other one, the registration with the physical packets and everything, get a separate price on that.
Thank you.
Sure.
How many student athletes do you have total?
Oh boy. That's a great question. Top three grades. Man. That's a hard question because a lot of the kids play multiple sports. So you're processing the paperwork every season. If that makes any sense.
It does. So you could do an accumulation of across, you don't have to separate out as individuals, but I'm trying to get a rough idea if what the cost per head is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to go through and look at all the rosters and everything and come up with a basic number. I'd have to find that out for Monday, probably. Off the top of my head, that's a tough one to come up with.
Yeah.
That would vary too from year to year, I'm sure.
Correct.
It will, but it gives you a ballpark.
Well, and again, if you throw in the emergency cards, if we would go that route with it, which I think we can, now you're looking at every kid in the school.
True.
And one of the things he commented on the meeting that we had, there's an app you can put on your phone and you can call this kind of stuff up, which when you go on a field trip or you're at a game and maybe a kid has an issue, you can call up their medical history right on your phone. And he gave an example of maybe it was just in the hallway, a kid went into a diabetic shock, and the teacher, they didn't know what to do. The teacher pulled it up, said, "Oh, this kid's got this situation, so they kind of knew how to respond to it. So it was something that they had right on their phone that they could pull up off the app, because there is an app you can download it onto your phone and keep those kind of things with you and have access to them.
That has value by itself, I
Right.
think.
Right. And I would like to learn more about it. I'm not just jumping in and saying we have to purchase this now. The Arbiter Pay, I'm kind of very interested in and on board with. The registration, I would like to learn more about it. And I think I'm going to talk to Tracy Daly and see if she maybe wanted to come Monday and was able to speak on what she thought it could offer for them.
How many kids are in the school?
The high school?
All of it. It'll be high school and elementary. The cards would be for, right?
240 at the high school.
Okay. Thank you.
634 total K through 12 on campus.
And just from my own reports, what I've sent in for our Title IX reports yearly, generally speaking, between 35 and 45% of the students participate in sports per season.
See, for me, the piece that I was kind of going off of was the emergency card piece for all the students. So if you did 634, it's $9.40 a student. That's the value of a life to be able to look that up.
Right. I agree.
So
yeah.
Like a pretty minimal cost to me.
Well, that's another way to look at it that I hadn't thought of. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions for Dave? Dave, I'd recommend you get Aaron Howe involved and take a look at the security side of that and just make sure that all that protected information is secure.
Right. I would actually like to have Aaron sit down with myself and Corey, the sales rep that I've been talking to that has set up all these meetings. Because part of it is, one of the things you can do is you can set up the link to the school website. Aaron has an athletic calendar that runs through Google right now that puts everything on the school website. But this also will allow you to do that. So that's beyond me. So I wanted to have Aaron sit in with Corey and see what that involved also. So I might be able to set up another meeting and talk a little bit more about this with him and have Aaron involved so he can ask questions.
Sounds good. You got some work to do between tonight and next Monday.
Yep.
So I'm just moving on down through the agenda. Just keep in mind that we did have Attorney Sheck will take a look at all the contracts, including Arbiter. The only concern he had with that is that's a rollover every year. So it's an automatic renewal. That's just something we're going to be cognizant of if we do choose to enter into that contract. Letter B is an ongoing discussion that we've had with Next Step. This is a contract that they had developed. I had Attorney Sheck will take a look at it. We made some modifications and we have it in front of you. More than likely, this would begin in the fall of 25-26 school year. We also have the Next Step agreement that we approved, and we still have the family psych agreement that we had worked off of for years. So hopefully we'll be able to provide as much support as needed for our youth. Letter C, that's a ongoing agreement that we have with the FIRST program, Maria Clark and her team, and children and youth. And just keep in mind that we haven't had that contract in front of the school board for a good number of years. It hasn't changed. The only change that's in it this year is it went from a $5,000 reimbursement to a $6,000 reimbursement. So the district supports the program, fronts it, and then we get reimbursed through children and youth. So we haven't seen that contract for a while, and just for full transparency, we wanted to put it back in front of the school board for formal approval. And then letter D, that stemmed from a PCCD end of year safety report. We haven't updated our school emergency operations plan for quite some time now. And we had a new version that a standard copy that was sent to us through the state. So Courtney Chalmers and myself have been working on that. We've reviewed it just briefly at the safety committee and had a detailed discussion. Just keep in mind that's a gross overview of working with the county if we had any kind of hazard concerns, a rolled over truck, maybe a broken line or something of such. So that's just an updated plan in front of the school board. Once we approve that, we'll submit that into the report, but also have it handy. We need to get it out to local fire departments, state police, and EMS. And then finally, under instructional services, we talked about an auditorium renovation committee, and I just wanted to bring that up again with the school board. I did talk to the architect and have been pushing the bond council to get moving on the projects. And it seems like we'll be able to get the football field in, the auditorium, and quite possibly the track this summer, fall area, if everything works out correctly. But they're not so comfortable guaranteeing the parking lots, because it seems like in the spring, everybody does parking lots and the student drop off, that might not be until next spring. I just wanted to provide that update. So with all that being said, I wanted to see if the school board had an idea as far as a committee, and if anybody wants to volunteer to sit on it, and just open it up at this time.
I had indicated I can sit on the committee if you need me.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, my recommendation would be, one board member, if we could put Kelly down, she'd be great. Myself, just because I'm involved with all the projects. Kristen Thurber, and you'll hear a little bit more about Kristen at the voting meeting and the grant that she wrote and was recently awarded. James as maintenance director, Aaron Heil as part of our technology, and then Jenny and Logan as our two teachers. And if the board's okay with that, or if you have any other ideas, we can add that to the list and formally approve that committee, and then we'll have reports back to the board on a monthly basis.
Does Jenny and Logan include?
That sounds good to me.
Does Jenny and Logan include those that would work with like the musical? I mean, I know they do. I'm not trying to make a dumb question here. I'm just saying, is there another contract for somebody that would do the set work and stuff like that?
We have an assistant music director, is Julie Powell, who recently we were told she was going to resign. We haven't received her letter yet, so she'll be added into that mix. But yeah, Jenny's been the play director, choir director, and then Logan doing the band and music and everything he does for the concerts.
David, sorry, Patty, go for it.
The only other piece I would suggest is any visioning of what you want from that. Is there usefulness of that outside facing, community facing side of it that you would want to have somebody from a community on it?
It's a committee from the school board, so I take suggestions. My only concern is I've been on a lot of committees over the years, and when they grow too big, and we're at maybe 8 right now, or close to 7 to 8, sometimes we don't get as much work completed.
I
understand. As far as the community outreach, the only suggestion I would have would be to see if somebody from the Lincoln Hall in Foxburg, possibly one of the Sorokas, see if they might be interested, since they have experience in that. But I mean, other than that, somebody around the region, I don't know who else that's sticking out to me right off the top of my head.
Thanks, Brady. And maybe that's what you were going to say, Kristen?
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say. They are partnered with us in the grant, so they actually wrote a commitment of partnership with us. So they were going to be a suggestion. I know that they're willing to offer suggestions in any way, virtually or just through questionnaires and things like that. So I would definitely consider them. And I think a large portion of this grant has to do with incorporating tech and or computer science. So if we could think about getting someone on that side of things too.
I would agree with that.
And I don't know who that would be necessarily from the high school. I know that I was planning on sharing possibly in June some of the technical pieces of the grant and the compliance measures that go along with it. So we can discuss that at a later time, or we could just take a look at our staffing at the high school and see who might be interested from that department.
I know in the past, Jeff and I think RJ have worked on updating like the soundboard and updating some of the microphones and some of the lighting systems in there. And they've worked with other vendors, so maybe one of those individuals.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could bring RJ and Aaron, then we'll get a perspective from both K through 12.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that would really help us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your input. This evening, we do not have anything under policy, and on Monday, we'll hear an update from James and facilities. I know they're working hard for the end of the year. At this time, we have a number of items that tie right into the budget, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sherman. She's going to talk a little bit about the cost per mile for the van, the Career Center run, and the regular transportation rate. And then we also have that ongoing discussion about remote learning days. And again, we don't have to get that letter D figured out this evening, but at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sherman.
Good evening, everybody. I did share out with you, I think a while back, because we had originally planned to talk about this in April, but I did reshare with you today the chart that compares our current rates with 4 different schools in the local area. I reshared it because originally there was only 3 schools, and since then a 4th school just added a small piece of information, mostly related to extracurricular transportation. But looking at letter A there, the mileage or the rate per mile for vans and automobiles, we are on the low end of that, and I think we need to take a look at raising that. A couple of the contractors have reached out to me to express that the rates are better at other schools. We do have one contractor who has started to drive for another school in addition to us. So I think we need to look at being competitive there. The next closest school to us was 4 cents higher at 169 a mile. But then, after that, there was one at 184 a mile and one that pays $3.20 per mile when there are students on, and $1.37 when there are not students on. So there is a difference in that when you're doing state reporting. We get reimbursed for miles with students, not without. So I think that's probably why that school does that. So it's kind of a unique approach to it. My suggestion would be that if we're going to stick to the just per mile rate, flat, whether they're loaded or not, that we look at maybe going up to about 175 per mile and fall right in the middle of the pack there with the other schools. So before we move on to B, is there any questions about A?
Okay. Lori, sorry.
Hey,
so I know this is a really hard question you can probably answer. So if we go up to the 175, do you have an idea like what kind of a total increase that might be for the school for next year? I know it's a really hard number.
I was going to say
throw out, but
I don't have those numbers in front of me. We could run some of those numbers for next week, to give you an idea of how much, if we based it on this year's expenditures, about how much that would increase. I mean, it's a 10 cents per mile, but I'd have to look at how many total miles we're running per year in order to figure that out. And that's a hard one with vans.
Okay, thank you. It's just with us talking about budget, there's so many unknown factors, and it's kind of hard to really, make a decision without everything in front of us. So, but yeah, if you could possibly get that, that would be great.
Sure. Okay, are we ready to go to B then?
Yep.
So looking at the Career Center, that one we do by bid. So the last time that we bid it, it was $155 per day is what we've been running that at. And I believe we bid it 2 years ago. And I have to say, I'm not sure when we decide that we're bidding it. I don't know if it's like as long as Bailey's are willing to still run it at $155 per day, we continue with that. I'm not sure, David, if you can answer that or if anybody knows the answer to that, but right now the per day is $155, and we've been there for about 2 years. I do know that when we had to add a second van, we did do, we put it out to bid for that. But right now we're still at one bus, and then we have supplemented with a van to catch a little bit of overflow. But we just pay that van the van rates. So if we're not bidding, I think that one stays at $155 per day, unless anybody thinks that we should be bidding it.
Yes, Lori,
I
I'm
do
just
know-
going to jump in because depending on the number of students, we're right around 50 students. We may or may not need a van going up there. So we'll just have to keep an eye on, what the fall looks like with the number of kids signed up.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I do know that when we bid it last time, we did have a lower bid, but we didn't go with that bid.
Maybe we should put it up for bid again.
Yeah, that's what I'm putting out there. Like, I'm not sure how we decide when we bid.
My only concern with bidding is most likely the price is going to go up. It's not going to go down, especially with where the economy is 2 years ago compared to today. Just food for thought.
But how long do we know he's going to make that run for that amount? We don't know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I say just let it be until we get notice from the contractor that they're no longer interested or they want to discuss a rate change.
okay. So if we do that, then it would be $155 per day. And then we may be, like David said, eliminating that contracted van per day, depending on the numbers going to Career Center next year.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, a bus will hold 72 students officially, like under the law. But when you're talking high school students, that's 3 to a seat if you're 72, and that's not realistic with high school students. So 2 to a seat, it holds 48. Okay, so then letter C, the regular bus transportation, as long as I've been transportation director, that has been based on the state formula, which this current year was 7.224, and next year goes up to 7.433, which is about 0.2, 2/10 of an increase. And you see on that comparison, when you're looking, some schools do the state formula and then add a little bit per mile onto that. School B on that chart doesn't use the state formula. They just do 3.4 or I'm sorry, $3.48 per mile. And I was curious about that. So I did do the math on just one of our contracts to see what that did. And that is drastically lower than going by the state formula. So I think that we're pretty fair by using the state formula on that one. It was almost a $10,000 difference, less than if you go just that per mile rate. So I think we're paying a pretty fair rate based on the state formula. Anybody have any questions about that or think that we should be doing differently with the state formula? Okay, and then we do not have the extracurricular on here, but when that other school added their rates today, we are, and I know we just raised this either last year or the year before to $2.56 per mile for extracurricular. But on our transportation comparisons, school A is paying $3 a mile, school B is paying $3.48 a mile, school C is paying $4.15 a mile, and school D is paying $4.25 per mile. So we are like 44 cents lower than the next closest school in our local area. So I know it's not on here, but I don't know if we want to think about putting that on there for next week and looking at increasing that a little bit, maybe at least going up to the next closest school at $3 per mile. I know our extracurricular transportation is slim. Mr. Sherman's still sitting here, and I know that he has a lot of difficulty, getting enough transportation, and we've had to reach out to Shriver's and some other transportation companies to fill the gaps. But maybe if we offered a little bit more competitive rate, they would be more inclined to go out to try to do some extracurriculars. I know that the biggest problem is the lack of drivers, but if it would help. So that's up to you guys if you want to add that or discuss that. I know we don't have it on here right now.
Any of these increases have not been figured in that budget total. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's correct. We just based it off of the previous year's cost, Kelly.
Well, I would assume, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but in budgeting for it, we would at least have accounted for the difference in the cost index.
I will have to look at that. I can have that for you tomorrow or Monday. I mean, I'll have it to you before then.
Just keep in mind that it's kind of hard to budget for all this transportation, only because there's a number of different games home and away. It changes every year. The vans and the student needs and maybe what school they go to, how many kids are going there. It's a moving target. So I'm not saying that we're prohibited from increasing because of the budget, but it's a general number that we've always used at the district. We do get a pretty good reimbursement for the miles with and without with kids, as Lori had alluded to earlier.
Yeah, and that would be on our regular bus transportation and our van transportation. We do not get reimbursed anything for extracurricular.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Okay, hearing no other questions for Mr. Sherman, we'll continue to move on down through. We do have letter D. That's something for us to discuss and continue to look at. Comes August, maybe even September, we're going to have to secure the contract. Lori and I talked today. We'll have Attorney Shekel take a look at those contracts whenever we get there. But right now, we have a number of days down in those contracts. So if we are going to use some remote learning next year, and maybe we want to cap it, or if you have any ideas as far as what we pay those contractors for not running on that particular day, we're open for suggestions.
And just as a reminder too, David, I did share with the board the spreadsheet of what some other local schools were doing. If anybody needs that reshared, just let me know.
Thank you.
Lori, I had looked at that, and to be honest, it's been a couple days. Is there anyone just paying like a flat fee per day, guaranteed for the 180 days or however many days that we need per year?
Just to clarify, are you asking like they just pay them each day they run, or are you saying they say we'll pay you for this many days and they pay that regardless?
Yes, just a regardless, hey, we need you for 180 days, and here's your amount per day, and if we have those, a snow day or whatever, you still get paid just to secure the job for them.
Well, so first of all, it's never 180, it's 177 or 176 some years, just depending on the Act 80 days. But currently, that's how our contracts are. We figure it based on that's how many days we're going to give them. We divide that out. Like we use the formula, figure up the per day cost, then we multiply that by 9 months and we multiply it by the whole year, or the number of days, I'm sorry. The other schools that I included in that, I don't have the sheet up in front of me, but I don't think anybody was paying them a full day. They were doing all different things. Like some had decided on 80%. There was different percentages. One school was paying they were paying per day and only days run. So that's a little different than the way our contract is currently worded, which is why David is saying, like, depending on what we decide here, I think regardless of what we decide, we're going to have to contact our solicitor to find out how do we word this in the contract going forward, unless we just decide we're going to pay them whether they run or not.
I do remember seeing there was one school that didn't pay anything for remote days on what you had sent.
Yeah, there was one school that just pays the per day rate for each day that they run. And if they don't run, they don't get paid. But the majority of the schools did pay them some percentage
yeah.
of their.
Right.
Have we determined yet how many days we're talking about next year for this remote learning?
No, we haven't, Kelly. We haven't capped it if that's what you're asking.
Well, I think that's going to make a difference on how we decide on this.
I know a neighboring school capped it at 3 days. They exhausted the building snow days, the online learning days, and then they added days to the end of the year.
I think it would be beneficial to cap it at a lower number, at least for the first year, till we figure out how this is all going to work. But that's just my thought.
I also agree with you, Kelly. I think we should keep it at a low number, guarantee ourselves that, hey, it's going to work, and then possibly next year raise the number to a higher number if needed.
Hopefully we won't need any.
I agree with both of you, and I'll start working on that and communicate it out. And then that'll at least get us started with remote learning next year. See how it goes. Okay, we'll keep moving. It's just an ongoing discussion, and there's a couple of layers to it. Letter E is just Myers Transportation adding a 2016 Honda Pilot to the fleet. And then as we finish off this evening, miscellaneous, we'll get the reports at the voting meeting, and I'll open it up to see if there's any old business or new business that we need to discuss before we adjourn today.
I do.
Okay.
I do know that it is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I just wanted to thank all the teachers and staff at AC Valley for the fantastic work that they do. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's almost the end of the year. Just stick it out a couple more weeks, and everybody can enjoy their well-deserved summer break.
Thanks, Brady. I appreciate it. All right. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next month.